I'll admit at the time I was using the dating app Tinder, and I thought to myself, well, what if there was like a Tinder for jobs? And so when Swob initially started, we were basically Tinder for jobs, where employers, you post your jobs and then candidates could swipe through left and right on roles.
We want to use AI to bring back that human element, use AI to remove those repetitive tasks.
We always joke around that we haven't killed one another yet.
We're still good.
There's still time. But I think there's definitely, it's an interesting dynamic, but I think it's one that works in the sense that we have always said my strengths are Stephanie's weaknesses, and Stephanie's strengths are more of my weaknesses. So I think that's what makes us a good team.
Today, I have two guests on my podcast, co-founders of Swob, like Tinder, but for restaurant hiring. So if you're a general manager, if you know a general manager, franchise owner with multiple restaurants, or if you own a restaurant or know someone who owns a restaurant, you know how difficult it is to find the right person to work in that place and create that environment, create that experience for the guests that we all love and we all deserve when we go out and enjoy some great food. So that's what they specialize in. They found that gap in the market, and they leverage artificial intelligence to help you speed up that process, make sure that you win back that time to focus on growing your restaurant, and hiring will be outsourced to Emma, which is their artificial intelligence or AI agent. Without any further ado, let's jump straight into the episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Quiet Work podcast. Today, we are going to talk about hiring within the restaurant industry. And since we all love going out and having great experience, eating some great food, we want to make sure that we leverage the newest technology to hire the best talent, make it a great environment for them to work in, and of course, help us all to level up our experiences whenever we go out. Without any further ado, please introduce yourselves and tell us about the company you represent, Stephanie and Alex.
Yeah, so I'm Stephanie. I'm the co-founder of Swob.
And I'm Alexander. I'm also the co-founder of Swob and also Stephanie's brother.
Pretty cool. Family business. Yes, tell us about your business, guys.
Yeah, so Swob it's an AI hiring platform that we've created to help restaurants and hire, especially with the high turnover roles and the hourly wages. One thing that we've found from having tons of conversations with different restaurant operators, GMs, managers, is that they are struggling when it comes to hiring. And then because they struggle with hiring, that could have an impact on their customer experience. And so obviously we want to make something that is accessible to these employers, that is delivering them great candidates. And then when they're fully staffed, that's going to help ensure that their guests are having a great experience. And so even just for us too, our father worked in the restaurant industry, and he saw just how inefficient hiring is firsthand and how it's essentially a revolving door. And so restaurants are struggling, but they don't have to be.
Exactly. And for us, we really want to use AI to actually bring back human connection. So using AI to take away repetitive tasks that GMs may have so that they could get back onto the floor, train properly, and ultimately create great customer service and a great company culture as well.
First of all, I have to say it's not a secret that hiring is a problem in generally probably in any industry, but restaurant in particular. Living where we live here in the Coachella Valley, we have a lot of tourists. We have a lot of people that are retired that come here for the winters because our winters are so beautiful. So I obviously started this in the same way in the restaurant industry, and I know firsthand how difficult it was and still is to hire someone. So very, very interesting that you guys are leveraging artificial intelligence to that. I'd be really curious to hear how those restaurant owners or franchise owners or general managers are responding to that. But first, tell us a little bit the story behind that.
And it made the restaurant manager's life a nightmare. It was difficult to navigate. How can you prepare when you don't have enough staff? There doesn't need to be.
Exactly. And when we first started Swob, we were targeting all roles in high turnover. So in retail, food service, warehouses, grocery stores, we thought, let's create something that is actually solving the pain points that these employers face and just focus on this specific industry, because they are still struggling. Yes, there's a lot of job boards out there. However, why is there such a struggle still with labor? So, what we're doing right now is really just speaking to GMs, speaking to managers, speaking to franchisees to really understand what would you like to see in a tool? How
Mhm.
could we make our tool better? And building Swab in real time with their feedback in order to actually solve these problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure, dedicating it to to someone who needs it, listening to them, and then improving as you go. I wanted
Exactly.
to every listener of this podcast knows probably at least one restaurant owner. So for that fact, do you guys work in certain areas? Help.
We're actually fully in the United States.
Ooh.
Yes, we are based out of Canada. However, our business is completely in the United States and
Mhm.
we're across the US. So any business anywhere is able to reach out to us and we could definitely help them with hiring.
Wow, that's interesting. So tell us about the customer, the client experience. I guess you let's say general manager, franchise owner that has multiple
Mhm,
restaurants, or a restaurant owner who's struggling currently when it comes to hiring, especially in the high season
mhm.
times during the high season times. So how does it work when they first approach you? What happens then?
Yeah, so they can either come to Alex or myself for a demo or what we honestly, it's super simple and
Yeah.
easy to use. We really have taken the time to make sure that their user experience is simple. If something is too complicated, no one's going to want to use it. So for us, we really are leveraging AI. So we have our AI hiring assistant. Her name's Emma and she'll help the employer. All you have to do is go to our website, you sign up as an employer, and she'll help you post a job, screen candidates, call them in for interviews so that, like I said before, those repetitive tasks that a GM had in the past where they're logging into multiple job boards, they're reaching out for interviews, they're posting their jobs, they're going through resumes. We're trying to use AI to remove all of that so that there's more time for them to, like I said, get back on the floor, properly train, so that they're building that great company culture as well. Because that's something that a lot of people value is they want to know that their employer is taking care of them and they're growing within their career as well.
Yeah, and honestly, the onboarding for an employer signing up, it's like less than 2
Yeah,
minutes it takes to get your first job up and posted.
exactly.
That's pretty fast. Yeah. So what's the response from general managers? I mean, I know probably five or six myself that I could name. Most of them are managing Italian restaurants here that are obviously very well received and people love Italian food.
Oh, yeah.
I I could not imagine them even talking about AI. They're very how do you say it, old school, I guess you can say.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
how what's the feedback that you've guys seen so far? I'm curious to hear.
The feed the feedback has been super positive, and especially because we are building it in real time with feedback, it's something that they actually need and want to use.
Yeah.
So for us, of course, we've heard, we don't want to AI is such a big term and it can scare people off, but that's why we're trying to educate these employers to say we're using AI not to take away the human element. We want to use AI to bring back that human element, use
Hmm.
AI to remove those repetitive tasks. So for us, that's really been a game changer when we're speaking with these employers as well, is to really say, like, no, AI is not here to replace your manager. They're here to get your manager back onto the floor doing what they're supposed to be
Mhm.
doing. We've heard through these conversations like nightmare stories where the manager is just so at capacity that they don't properly train their employees and they're not really showing them the full restaurant. Like, how is that happening? How do you expect to have a great customer experience if the server, for example, doesn't know the full restaurant and can't find a fork, for example? So, we really want to use AI to actually bring back the human connection.
That's an interesting take, I have to say. And speaking of great experience, sarcastically, I remember so vividly that one moment when the GM was Saturday night with 300, 400 tables or people to serve that night. We're severely understaffed. We
Wow.
couldn't keep up. Obviously, the back of the restaurant, a lot of people don't know that haven't been in that industry that Hell's Kitchen is actually happening quite
Yeah.
often, like
Oh, yeah.
behind the scenes there's some madness, but this thing
Mhm.
right at the host station, the GM came to her, started screaming, took all the notes. We didn't have iPads back then, or we didn't, their iPads already existed, but we didn't use them at the restaurant. Again, very old school. And the paper with all the reservations for that night, all the table assignments and all that, torn it apart, threw it in the air, and
Yeah.
fired her at the spot. So talking about a great customer experience, we're still friends with the GM until now. And obviously sometimes the pressure takes over.
Oh
Of
yeah.
Uh,
course,
I-
of course.
Italian temperament takes over, and he had
Yeah,
to
we know that.
do what he exactly. He had to do what he had to do. So that was just one vivid story. So I guess that would help us. A swap would help us in that situation if we
We're trying to
prepared.
eliminate that from happening. We don't
Yeah.
want to have that happen more often than not.
Absolutely, yeah. So tell us about how does it work? So once they find a talent, obviously it's an ongoing thing in the restaurant. So they stay on the platform. They are somehow still accepting some potential candidates or keeping them for perhaps a better time when they're hiring again. How does that work from the, let's say, lifetime value of a client of yours?
Yeah, it ultimately is up to that restaurant owner or franchisee, whoever the one is in charge of posting. We've seen people who have needed a posting up, needed to hire immediately, post their job, hire, and then they take their role down because they don't have a need for it anymore. And then there's
Hmm.
on the flip side, you see these other owner or restaurant owners, GMs, managers who just leave postings up because they know that they're constantly hiring. So really, it's ultimately up to that employer. And I think the one thing that I would say is because it is such a user friendly experience on the employer side, and we've made it so that it is easy for you to get access to those pool of candidates. A lot of the time, they just leave it on. You don't even know that it's there, but you're still getting in a steady pool of candidates. So it's always a nice kind of thing to know that, hey, listen, peak season's coming up. We need to hire. You might already have a pool of candidates waiting for you.
Exactly. And even something else through feedback is Swob is a set monthly subscription. So
Mhm.
employers as well know exactly what they're paying for each month. There's no surprises. They could pause, they can come back to the
Yeah.
platform. There's no contracts because that's something that's been a big friction with other job boards is at times they can blow through their budget in a week. They might not know what they're spending. They might get clicks from other job boards or from people applying to their jobs that are not even in the right state, for example, and you're just blowing through your budget. As a franchisee or a restaurant owner, how are you supposed to budget accordingly when you don't even know what you're spending? So that was a really key piece of feedback for us is to just even simplify the payment process as well so that if somebody wants to pause their job posting and come back a month later or keep their posting up, they know exactly what they're paying for each month.
That's very transparent, I have to say. Wanted to ask you, how does I know some restaurants here that hire pretty much anyone that they can hire because there's shortage of people that are that can work pretty much, and especially during the high season times as well. Again, so how does one ensure that they actually hire someone who is not going who's going to be fitting that company culture and who's going to be the right candidate for them? How does, obviously without sharing all the secret intelligence from Swab, but how do you guys ensure that that's a fit for that particular restaurant?
Yeah, so for us, we've always said we're all about quality versus quantity. We would rather you
Mm.
get 20 people apply to your role, but all 20 of those candidates are in your area. They all have the experience that you're looking for, as opposed to 100 candidates, but only a handful of them are actually qualified. So for us, that's always been our biggest thing. And I think our AI agent, Emma, who's basically doing all of the hiring, as more and more candidates come into a certain role, she's going to start getting smarter on that process. And once she kind of understands more about what that employer is actually looking for, the types of qualifications that that employer or restaurant is looking for, she's actually going to filter out those candidates. So you're only going to get those candidates that meet your requirements and that are basically aligned with everything you've identified in your job description.
Exactly. And we even try to educate employers as well with their job description. So, including
Mm.
things about the company, including if there's any wellness programs, any benefits, any like things that really make your company stand out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's a really key piece of feedback that we've been trying to educate employers, hearing from even candidates as well, is that'll help bring in the right candidates as well. So they match your company culture.
Very interesting. And Emma is my sister-in-law's name, so I'll tell her that she got replaced by AI.
There-
It's time to step up her game, otherwise, will go after us. But it's pretty cool to see. That's another example that I had right now with you guys, that AI is actually leveraged not to replace your job, but to find you a job and find you a good job
Exactly.
and find, and also for people to hire human beings, not AI agents to serve those restaurants, or
Exactly.
robots, I guess, at this point. So hopefully this, you guys, when you grow in 10, 15, 20 years, before you make major exit, you will not start hiring robots. You stick to humans.
Thank you.
Sticking to the humans, that's right.
Exactly. Stick to the humans, because robots now become so popular all around the world. We have we're from Poland, so we have Polish TV, and they every other day they talk about those robots that they're developing, and it's just scary. And obviously, restaurant industry is the first one that they're, I mean, not first one, but one of the first one to they're testing. So, for example, gas stations or restaurants next to the gas stations that are in Europe are famous for it, they're already hiring these robots. I hope that will not replace fully that
Easy.
experience that we get from human beings.
It's
Exactly.
crazy, but I think in an industry like food service where it's so hands-on and such a there's a human element there, I think, you can have all those new technologies, but I don't think anything's gonna replace that human element, especially in an industry like food service.
Absolutely. And again, I think a human can make or break the good experience. So I'm glad that
Yes.
you are
Yeah.
hiring. And is there also an educational element as well? So, for example, you've mentioned that if the company has certain benefits or anything like that, to make it known for the candidates. But what about education for the candidates? Maybe they have certain processes that are dear to the founder, and now they want to pass it on. So is there a way for a company, for a franchise owner, restaurant owner, to add some more information like that, like education element to it?
Yeah, that's definitely an option. Again, when the employers are posting, they're free to include whatever information about that job, about their restaurant that they want to include. So if there's things that that employer is offering that thinks might benefit them in the sense that it'll help them stand out from others, include it. Like, I mean,
Exactly.
we're always encouraging, like Stephanie said, whatever information that you could share that would be valuable to a candidate, and just give off that level of sort of transparency right away, where that candidate sees, oh, these are things that I can get access to, or things that I didn't know that this restaurant was offering versus others. Like, anything that you can do to help you stand out in a positive light, we always encourage it.
Have you guys heard some stories about fighting for the right candidate? If you have two users in one town, two users as well in one town, same style of restaurants, hiring the same type of role. Have you guys heard
Yeah,
so
I don't
far
know.
some?
Yeah,
I'd be
that's the
interested to
first.
find
Yep.
out if there's any restaurants competing over a certain candidate. But hey, listen, if they're fighting, if restaurants are fighting over a candidate, that means Swab's delivering good people. So that's
Exactly.
There you
almost
go.
a good thing to hear.
Exactly.
That
And doing those things like adding more information to their job description will help them stand out.
Absolutely, yes. No, that's a common thing here. I mean, they rotate, especially if you're started in an Italian restaurant, you will look for another Italian restaurant, and they usually rotate through all the. I was in the fine dining area industry, fine dining restaurant, so I've seen all of these guys and still see them. All these guys just rotate from one restaurant to another.
Yeah.
Obviously, every a few years, if you find especially where we live here, if you find a good place to work, unless there's a restaurant burning down or something crazy happening, they will stay. So that's another good thing here as well. I'll be curious to hear one thing from Alexander. I read somewhere that you studied at Seneca Polytechnic. Is that
Seneca College here in
Seneca
Toronto.
College? All right, cool. Well, I was really curious to hear about the Seneca in it. Was that like a Stoic themed college, or was it just a random name that they chose?
I think just a random name. I don't know where they got the name from, but yeah, that's where I went to college many years ago.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know if you read any of Seneca letters and writings, but I'm obsessed. I guess I can say obsessed with Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and other teachings from them. So I had to ask you, how
I
did you
don't think
end up?
that's where they got the name from.
Who
And
knows?
now you
Yeah, I
solved
don't
the.
know. Maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Now you solved it. Could be, obviously they were lecturing their teachers
Yeah,
2000 something years ago, around 2000 years ago. So maybe they still took it.
Maybe, yeah,
Um,
could
exactly.
be. Could be.
That's a
yes.
fact.
Tell us about the beginning of Swap. How did it the idea of leveraging AI in the first place came about? Did you had like a coding background? Did you just hear that AI is the next wave? What was the story behind that?
So it's funny. So both Stephanie and I, we're not technical. We don't have a technical background. Our background is in marketing. So prior to this, we were both working in the marketing industry, two different agencies in the city, but both in the industry. And I think for the both of us, we always knew at some point we wanted to do our own thing. Just never knew what that was.
Start our own business.
Yeah. But when I started my career in marketing, I loved it. It was everything I kind of was hoping it would be. Fast forward a little while, and I just was miserable in my role. I wasn't enjoying myself anymore or enjoying the industry anymore. And I thought, I need a change. So I started looking for new opportunities in the industry. And just through that frustration of looking for new roles and trying to see what was out there, I thought there needed to be an easier way to do this. And that's sort of when the idea was inspired to. And I'll admit at the time I was using the dating app Tinder, and I thought to myself, well, what if there was like a Tinder for jobs? And so when Swob initially started, we were basically Tinder for jobs, where
Yeah.
employers, you post your jobs and then candidates could swipe
Swipe.
through left and right on roles. But I remember when I had that idea and I spoke to Stephanie about it, we both thought, okay, this is something unique. First of all, let's see, A, does this already exist? And B, is there even a need for something like this? And just from tons of conversations and focus groups that we would do, we found that there was nothing available like this and that there was such a demand
Yeah.
for something like Swab. And so fast forward now, years later, I think with AI and everything, it's one of those where you can use AI. And I know Stephanie mentioned it kind of earlier. AI can be an intimidating term to some people, but if you're using AI, in my opinion, in the right way, where you're doing it to kind of remove friction and remove anything that's just kind of those repetitive tasks, where it's actually making your life easier, it could be such a positive tool. So for us, that's when we realized AI is the way of the future. That's where everything seems to be going. And it's one of those where if you're not incorporating that type of technology into your platforms, you're going to fall behind. And so for us, it was really important now that we incorporate AI into the platform, but also making sure that it has a purpose.
Absolutely. Yes. No, I like that angle. Tinder for hiring.
Yeah.
That's a great angle. And shout out to my friend Tyler who had that idea years ago. I just remembered and never ran with it. So too late, Tyler. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry,
And that's even where I know a lot of people ask us too, like, where does Swab, how does the name, how did you come up with the name? So Swab is the SW in swipe and the OB in job. So we
Just
combine
combined.
the
No
two.
way.
And that's
There you
how we
go.
got the name. Because sometimes people are like, what? Where'd you get this
Yeah.
name from? So just wanted to explain where that came from.
I love that. Yes. You guys should scream it from the tops of the mountains. That's such a cool name. I mean, I can already see the headline on Forbes when you guys make that major exit.
There you go.
That's
I
such a
like
cool
that.
name. Love that. Yeah, that's very creative right there. And again, you're helping others or those general managers especially win back their time, not to replace them and replace other candidates. Obviously, you're helping them find the right candidates so they can get back the time. Yeah, and again, coming from the restaurant business, I know how horrible it is when you have a general manager who's not doing his general manager role. And he
Exactly.
is, first of all, a lot of those general managers, they're horrible at hiring because again, they have temperament. They're not supposed to be, again, in my opinion, they're not supposed to be hiring because there have too many things on in their head and on their head
Exactly.
to make sure that the guests get the experience they deserve, especially in those fine dining restaurants. So if they can focus on what they should be focused on, I think that's a win for AI and that's a win for us all, those restaurant goers and people that want to have good experience. So love that. And a great name again. I can see that. What's ultimately the goal for Swap? Is it an exit?
Ultimately, that is the goal.
Oh, yeah.
Down the road for sure is, like you said, to have us on the cover of Forbes for sure and have a nice exit. But yeah, right now it's just the journey and starting Swab and seeing a problem and trying to create the solution has been an incredible journey. And I think for us, just learning every day and creating a tool that is actually helping people is an incredible feeling. So for right now, it's continuing to grow, continuing to get Swab out there. but also just helping people find work in a simple way.
Yeah, exactly. And for us, we always thought about if a restaurant had to hire and their first thought was to post their job on Swob
Mm,
versus any other platform, or vice versa, if a candidate is looking for a job and their first thought is to use Swob, like that is a win
mm,
for us. That is, ultimately that's the success that we want to see. We want to see, if you're struggling to hire or struggling to look, like that's why we've built Swab. We built it to support you, regardless if you're hiring or looking.
Very interesting. And I have to ask you, I think the listeners deserve to know. It's not a personal question, kind of is. How was the dynamic brother sister and the growing a startup? How
Yeah,
does it work for you guys?
we always joke around that we haven't killed one another
yeah,
yet.
we're still good.
There's still time, but I think there's definitely it's an interesting dynamic, but I think it's one that works in the sense that we have always said my
Yeah.
strengths are Stephanie's weaknesses, and
Mhm.
Stephanie's strengths are more of my weaknesses. So I think that's what makes us a good team. I think for us too, there's if we have to have a conversation, we disagree on certain things. There's no filter. We just kind of speak our minds and then move on. And I think because ultimately, at the end of the day, we both want to see Swab succeed, and we both want to see Swab grow. And so we both have that same vision and same goal. So sure, how we get there, we might have some disagreements along the way, but so far so good.
Yeah, exactly. And we both, like Alex said, want to see Swab succeed. And being on the entrepreneurship journey is a journey, and sharing in the highs together and even the lows, it's lessons learned for us. And, we never take a failure, we never take feedback as a negative. It's always a way for us to grow and do better and
Yeah.
make this tool a lot better. And even for us to grow as entrepreneurs as well and founders, being on this journey together is incredible because sometimes it can be a lonely journey, and you might not have somebody who you can speak to about it or going through the same thing that you're going through. Having your brother is great because obviously there's somebody who I really trust and have grown up with and can speak my mind to. So
She's never this nice to me.
and joke around with. But when we see Swab succeed and helping people, it's still a feeling that's one that you can't replace.
What a perfect duo and book example of how
Thank
it
you.
should be. That's great. I think it's a perfect example. I gave it a try a few times in my life in the past. It didn't work. Maybe in my case, there was too big of a age gap between my siblings. That doesn't seem to be the case in in your situation. Yeah, that's a perfect deal. And as they say, a failure becomes a lesson, and a win becomes a template for something to repeat.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you guys are doing that very well, successfully. Speaking of doing successfully, what was your path from a business perspective to what was your path to profitability? I can imagine in the beginning it's rather challenging to reach the right person, the general managers. I know that might be difficult to reach, maybe a franchise owner, even harder, restaurant owner. I don't know really how the outreach or reaching them would work. So what was your path towards profitability in the beginning, finding those first clients or users of the platform, and how do you currently grow?
So for us with employers, we actually just got back last week from San Diego, or this week from San Diego, and we were at a restaurant and tech show, and it was fantastic. And getting out there and meeting individuals face to face to show them the tool, to get feedback, to even just introduce ourselves, that for us was incredible because that face to face interaction, you can't put a price on that. So that's one way on how we're reaching out to employers. But another way too is even just through virtual coffees on LinkedIn and reaching out that way, and not necessarily selling Swab, but it's more for us to learn and show them the tool, but understand what are the pain points that they're facing. So I think switching to a virtual coffee for us to really understand how we can help and learn about the struggles that they face in their business versus, like, I'm sure you even get LinkedIn messages or anyone here who's listening where it's just, nothing about my business. You're just trying to sell me, and I'm going to ignore that message. And we really wanted to flip the switch on that, where we're asking questions, learning about your business to make sure that we're solving these problems. And so for us, that's been really successful. in connecting with these GMs, franchisees, operations managers within the industry to, like I said, learn and really educate ourselves so that we're making a tool that's actually changing how you're hiring.
Yeah, it's so valuable to have those build those kind of connections and actually, it's one thing to say you understand what these restaurant operators are going through and the struggles that they're going through, but to actually have those connections and really deeply understand just how difficult a lot of the issues that these restaurant operators deal with. When you understand their struggles and their pain points in a way that others don't, it almost makes you feel more involved in the sense like you want to be there to help them because again, you see how difficult it is for them. So really just adding that value and building those connections is huge. And especially even things like word of mouth
Yeah.
is another one. I mean, for us, we're building the platform alongside these employers. So it's real-time feedback and real-time features that we're implementing to make their lives easier. And so word of mouth can't be underestimated. It's such a, when it works for somebody else or when it works for somebody, they're going to share what's working for them, obviously. And so I think that's something that's really kind of valuable for us as well.
Exactly. And we're in the process right now of creating a referral program so that for any employers who refer somebody else to us will get some sort of rev share back as well. So we're in the process of creating that because word of mouth is another great way to drive new business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Excuse me. And if you like, whether you like it or not, the next time I'm speaking with a general manager or a restaurant owner, I'm going to tell them, hey, if you need Tinder for hiring, I
Yeah, there you
Thank
go.
you.
that
Thank you.
I have a software for you because it's so easy to remember. And obviously, they constantly talk about hire, or at least you always see new faces
Always.
and their complaints or sometimes praises, but mostly
Yeah.
complaints.
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
the lack of good talent in the area. So that's pretty cool. And I have to add that at one point in my marketing journey, I reach out to restaurant owners. I've sent probably 300 plus personalized videos to restaurant owners around Southern California, Coachella Valley, and all the way to LA because my wife and I, we had so many ideas that were underutilized at restaurants. Like, for example, leveraging Instagram to show behind the scenes instead
Yeah.
of just telling people at the table and having those servers butcher what the special is for the night. They could record stories behind the scenes, how they
Mhm.
prepare it, all the cool things in the restaurant business that you don't see unless you are part of a restaurant or you
Yeah.
were at one point to see how they source the food, where they source it from, the farms and all of that, how they support local communities and farmers and
Yeah.
all of that, whatever that is. Obviously, if you're a vegan restaurant, then something different, but whatever it is, to show the behind the scenes and they never leverage it. But that was around 2021. So we all know what what happened then. The restaurant businesses were
Yeah.
struggling. So I guess it was wrong timing and I hope that I don't see them still leveraging. Most of the restaurants still don't leverage social media the way they should. And I think that that's another aspect of AI helping them with that as well. Fantastic. Now, what gives you, Stephanie, and then we will go to Alex, most fulfillment at what do you do currently?
I think it's the fact that when we see people using the tool and actually making hires is
Mm.
something that will always feel like butterflies no matter how many times it happens. It's crazy to think that this was an idea. And when you actually see your idea, your hard work, your brainstorming, everything come to light, it's an incredible feeling. So I don't think that will ever get old. It's amazing to see, like I said, an idea come to life.
Yeah, I think for myself, like I mentioned earlier, when a candidate is looking or thinking about a new opportunity and their first thought is Swab, and then again on the employer side, if a restaurant needs to hire and their first thought is to use Swab, like that's such a win. It's such a good feeling. And like Stephanie said, I know it might sound a little cliche, but honestly, seeing something that you've built from the ground up that is actually providing value to somebody where somebody's using it and they're using it with a purpose and they're understanding it and they're finding the value in it. What a great feeling. And that's why we started this. Like we started it because we wanted to solve these pain points and make something that was making life easier on the candidates and restaurants, and to actually see it and hear that feedback when it's doing what it's supposed to. It's such a great feeling.
I agree. I can only imagine how great of a feeling it is. I have to ask a question again regarding the AI in the operation here. Is there a way for someone, if Emma is not providing the help they want, or they have questions before they even get on board, to get a human in the loop as well? Or is that strictly Emma that will solve their problems?
No, our customer support team is always available. Now, obviously, we hope that Emma is doing everything that she's supposed to and providing everything that she's supposed to. But I mean, you can always get in touch with our customer support and even us.
Have you guys thought already or talked already about AI voice agents as well, for someone to call in, or maybe calling those candidates, or vice versa, candidates calling the AI voice agent and having a conversation about what they could be chatting about?
Definitely. That is something that we have on our roadmap, and we have a lot of new ideas,
Yeah.
new features that we want to roll out. And every day when we're speaking with these GMs, franchisees, we are coming up with new ideas. And I think that's where we really succeed is we are problem solvers, and we like to hear the issues that you are facing so that we can put our heads together with the team and create these solutions. So that is definitely something that's a part of our roadmap coming soon.
Yeah, there's the advancement in that area is so fast that it's incredible.
It's
And I don't know if
wild.
you noticed, if you use Alexa or similar, they recently made a major update where she's now having a conversation with you rather than just giving you one of answers. So you typically, before that update, she would give you an answer, I don't understand, or something like that. But now she's catching up your conversation, your context, you're trying to tell
Right.
her, and she's giving like a really good answer. And I tried even to test her and give her three questions in one. And she was able to go through every question one by one and find a context
Very cool.
between these, correlation between these questions as well. I said, oh, that's just mind blowing where the direction we're heading. So I think in your case, would be a great addition as well for those candidates, get to call in and have a conversation about that. Or maybe even create an avatar for the employers and franchise owners, GMs, to create their own avatar and essentially act as themselves. That would be cool to see. Since we're nearing, or because we're nearing the end of Q1, are there any exciting trade shows or any exciting news that you have to share for the remainder of the year?
Well, we just got back from
Yeah.
one trade show, which was fantastic. We're hoping to get to another one in October. And
Mhm.
for us, I think there was so much value in attending the show and meeting people face to face. So that's something that's exciting. We have some new features
Yeah.
coming out this month as well. So very excited
Mhm.
about that. And just continuing, especially going into April. We know it's a new season of hiring as well as people
Mm.
are finishing up school. So we're ready for what's to come and just very excited to get Emma out there and having her help find people.
How's San Diego, by the way? I forgot to ask you about that.
It was awesome. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was great to connect with a lot of people in the industry, meet some faces. So it was awesome. And like Stephanie said earlier, that face to face interaction, like it's so valuable.
Yeah.
So what a great experience. And it didn't hurt that it was beautiful weather every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, we hit three digits already. So we're 2 hours away from San Diego. I hope the weather was there
Oh, it was
much.
Yeah,
awesome.
it was great.
Yeah,
It was
I
great.
can imagine. We're the hottest part of the United States in recorded history. In March and February, 2 months in a row, we had 112 degrees already.
Yeah,
And we're
crazy.
just, it's crazy because we're just 2 hours away from San Diego or Orange County, LA, where the weather is absolutely beautiful all year round. So it's a very interesting place. But I'm glad you had fun, and I wish you more successful trips
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
to those trade shows and meeting great people. And I know that there are some franchise owners that have hundreds of restaurants, and I
Mhm.
hope that you will be able to introduce Emma to some of these giants and
Thank you.
essentially have them benefit from it as well. I'm looking forward to seeing that Forbes headline with a major exit, but I also hope that we'll meet again and talk about newest feature as you guys grow. Definitely paying attention to all of your successful stories. That's such a great concept, such a cool concept, such easy to remember and share and spread the word about. So I wish you guys nothing but success, and thank you so much for stopping by the Quiet Work.
Oh,
Awesome.
thank
Well,
you so much for having us. We really appreciate
yeah,
it.
thank you. It was awesome.